leads and the different learning environment leads to stick around. Any of you are welcome to stick around, but you don't have to if you're not in that category. And we just wanted to do a really quick overview of some of the tools we need to collaborate. So I'm going to go through some of these pretty fast for two reasons. One, because I don't know the ins and outs of some of what we're about to talk about. So rather than me make it up, I'll just go fast. But also, right, good answer, it's full transparency. We've got some time booked over the next 4 weeks to bring all the leads together and do a deeper dive. And there's some stuff we're still figuring out too about what tools we'll use for which piece. But in general, when we talked about our guiding principles on collaboration, to do this, and we've learned this definitely on the HCM and finance parts, we as leads all have to coordinate and do certain things the same way across the platform. That's part of our challenge is different offices work different ways using different tools. And so specifically, a few things. I mentioned WebEx. We'll use WebEx. The Alchemy folks use Zoom. They might book a few meetings, but in general, we will always book WebEx so we can record in WebEx and share in WebEx because that's what we've got full support for on campus. As much as possible, when there's a meeting that involves Valencia, you'll want to book your meetings in the morning. You'll be mindful of their time zone. That won't always be possible. That makes it even more important to record things. It's a challenge with the time zone difference. It'll be even more of a challenge when we open a campus in LA, and then we've got 6 hours in that way. Not that that's happening. I'm making stuff up. All right. Respect and trust one another. That's less about the tool and more about the patience, and I don't think we can say it enough. Be patient with each other. Be patient with us. But communicate. If you see things that you're worried about or concerned about, speak up. So for the transparent community, this meetings on the One Berklee calendar is key. And I know that's new to some of you, but in particular, that'll help my team see what you all are doing with the work streams and come jump in and help support you. Or help connect the dots about, if that's really the conversation that you're having, we need to make sure these people are included as well. I think as leads, you are all going to wind up helping each other a lot with pushing each other into the right meetings as topics kind of come up in one context but really need to go to another group. And so that will be key. So we'll share all of this in a document to give you a cheat sheet, but as you start to email, there's very specific things we're going to ask. When you're dealing with the different work streams, include the lead and the co-lead. The original setup for having both is so that leads can go on vacation sometime and the co-lead can take over and vice versa. And leads may roll off this project. It's long enough that I anticipate we'll see that. And so copy both on everything. If you need help managing your email inflow, we can get training and support folks to come help set up folder filters and everything else. I asked Karen one day how many Workday emails she got because I was going to compete with her knowing she'd blow me out of the water. And she had so many crazy filters she couldn't even get a count without it. I was like, don't worry about it, it's not important. We're asking that you respond to emails in 24 to 48 hours. That's going to be so important when this gets rolling. Respond doesn't mean answer the question or the problem. It means give some kind of response. And so that can be, hey, I need 3 weeks for this. Because if that's not enough, you want that conversation not to stop. And I know that's come up before. And then this last one, which is bold, is we have provisioned the Alchemy folks with OnePass so they can get to some of our services. But when you're emailing them, email them directly to that. You can copy both if you want, but that's not really going to help. The communication needs to go to them. And we're still working out the logistics of how Google Docs work with the Alchemy being outside the domain, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. For all meeting invites, we want to include Karen, Amy, and Lindsay as optional attendees. Again, that'll give them even more visibility into what's going on so they can support you better. And I already mentioned the One Berklee Workday project calendar, so we've got training. Linda and or others can help show you how to do that if you don't know. Yes? At the Alchemy email address, yes. And for calendar invites, invite you for your Alchemy address as well.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll start making sure that everyone has the correct contact information. to the Alchemy calendars.
Yeah, when we worked with IBM, we had a different approach, which was we communicated them with their Berklee.edu provision. Of course, on the back end, they're using Outlook and a whole separate set of things. That didn't work super smoothly. There's no perfect solution to that, but this is the one we're going to work with Alchemy, and it'll work much better for them. And we can make it work too.
Yeah, and we've tried this a few different ways with different partners, and this is really what we have found to be the most successful. There's a lot of complexities. You guys are a Google shop, we use Microsoft, and so we've spent a lot of time between your PM team and Alchemy PM team trying to get at kind of the best solution when there isn't a perfect thing, right? Because I think all of you know that, like Outlook and Google Calendar don't always play super nice together and all of these different things. So this is the best we can without either team being able to control, right, what the software truly does. So yes, we do ask that emails, calendar invites, and stuff go to the Alchemy email addresses.
Yes, feel free to interrupt with any other questions too as we're going through this. Great. So another big thing that will be key on this is how we share documents and distribute documents. So the next slide I'll show you, we've built a whole Google Drive environment that maps to Alchemy's specific deployment methodology. And so we will be sharing all of our Google Docs that don't have sensitive student information in that forum. So we'll dig into that more. When there is sensitive data to share with Alchemy, which will be a lot because all of our student information eventually needs to get into these tenants, we're going to use secure file transfer with Liquid. We're still trying to figure out, we might use slightly different approaches there, but it'll probably go through here. So just be mindful as you start to think about document management that those two systems, and then share if you've got your own student data that's got sensitive information, but you're not ready to send it yet. If Gael were here, he'd put the hammer down. Don't keep that. He is here. Did I put a big enough hammer down on your behalf? If you have any questions about sensitive data, any of that, Gael can help explain it. And so again, this is a screenshot, not meant to go through everything now in great detail, but we've got a whole Google folder system, and this will be challenging. Some of us don't use folder systems in Google. We just use search and throw documents in there, but we really need to share it here, learn the system, learn where different documents go so that we can collaborate on them and find them. That's enough. And then this is in particular the one where I don't have the details. I don't know that we've worked out all these details, but from HCM and Finance, when you've got a to-do or a task that's someone else's, or we make a policy decision, if you've seen that in an email, it's as if it does not exist. We have to get it into these very specific tools where we're going to be tracking deliverables and next steps. And so we'll spend more time explaining all of this because the project tracker doc has like 800 tabs. No, it's only like 30.
But it does have about 30 tabs.
It does.
And I know some of you have seen it, but we won't spend time here, but we'll make sure to begin socializing that with the leads more broadly, because it's a place that we're using to track for those of you that came 2 months ago when we were showing that really complicated Gantt chart with all the colors and when things are happening, that's inside what we call the project tracker. And that's where we're going to track all the data conversion workbooks and all the functional workbooks and all the integrations and all of that. And that's why there's 30 tabs in there. So we can spend some time really kind of digging into that, not necessarily today, but in the future.
That's another big improvement from our last 2 deployments, because those 30 tabs have a ton of great information, and it's full transparency and being able to see it.
Yeah, and we use it for both sides, right? So our full team is in there as well, right? So that they know exactly what functional workbooks were given to this work stream, and they and we're all staying really tightly synced, both between Berklee and Alchemy. Workday is in there as well, so everyone is going to be functioning inside the project tracker, and it really is designed to be that sort of one-stop shop for everything about the project. Obviously, many other documents need to live outside there. Otherwise, instead of it being 30 tabs, it would be 3,000. We could never find anything. But it's for the die-hard core things that we're going to use throughout the entire duration of the project.
Great. And then just a little bit of a deeper dive into these guiding principles. We are not customizing Workday. We really want to use it as delivered. This is going to be really important, especially as a new product, because every time Workday rolls out new functionality, we want to just be able to uptake it. And if we go in and configure a whole lot of complexity in that business process, it's not going to be easy to continue to roll out the new functionality that's coming. And then I think I talked pretty good about the aligning policies and processes across programs. But we are trying to get the word out there. And I've had some recent conversations where it's really not clear to folks. We are Workday is not just about Workday. It is about all of our student systems. And we really want to eliminate as many as possible. And then the ones we keep, really design them the right way. So third-party systems includes both third-party systems and FileMaker databases. As much as we can get rid of any shadow system, both from the student experience perspective, but also the college having accurate data to make good decisions, it's very, very critical. Can reiterate this, but all of the way we've configured Colleague's a transactional system. So students have to figure out, they go there, they go to a registration screen, and they have to know every course, and they transact by adding them one at a time and register. Workday is completely different. It gives the student the information they need. If we configure it that way, the actual registration process is a component of advising. It's not separate from it. So just keep that in mind as you're leading your teams and you see folks on your team struggling with these concepts. We can sit down and work through it. And then the thoughtful and timely decisions, we got to meet those deadlines. If the work streams can't come to a conclusion, we're going to make one. It'll escalate up the food chain. Better that it happens at the work stream level, because those are the folks who are closer to the decisions that need to be made. But we will really, really push on these deadlines, because if we miss a deadline, the complexity of the downstream impacts of that can be really detrimental to the project. So keep hammering on that one. And then none of that was fun, but these slides both say have fun. So I'm going to turn it over to Alchemy now, who knows how to have fun.
That should be one of our core values.
Have fun.
We're going to add a sixth one. I'll let the leadership team know. So many of you are going to be involved this week, and if not this week, next week or the following week, in this thing that we're calling Discovery and Design. So I just wanted to take just a moment to talk a little bit about what the heck is Discovery and Design, what the goals are of it, and what we as alchemists are really trying to get out of it. So JZ, do you want to, I'll kick to you.
Sure. There's two slides that are some of my favorite slides to set expectations at the very beginning of Discovery and Design. So it's this slide and the next one. This slide, learn more about you, right? So we're here to learn about Berklee specific. And the way we learn it is from the Berklee experts. You guys know Berklee, we don't, right? We're coming with the Workday Student knowledge, you guys are coming with Berklee knowledge. Together we're gonna make a great system. So dig deeper into current systems and processing. We're gonna ask you how you do things today. That does not mean we wanna do a lift and shift into a new system. And I like to call that out, because a lot of times we'll ask, well, how are you doing it today? And a lot of times folks, and I've been on the customer side, so I even remember, no, I don't want to do how I'm doing it today. I want to do things this way in the future. Sometimes we just like to understand, so we understand more of the business requirement. We don't plan on just doing a lift and shift. So I like to call that out early on. Current state versus future state. Sometimes you're doing things this way today. This is how you plan on doing it when you deploy Workday. But in the future, this is how you'd like to see it. There is a difference. So we like to call that out earlier and let us know. If there's something you're doing today that you're like, all right, we definitely don't want to do it this way. We know we can get here probably within our timeline, but our ultimate goal is here, let us know. Because when we're designing the system, we'll set it up in a construct that allows for you to enhance it as you go further down the line, right? So if we know you're just going to be doing things out of the box this way, we want to keep it as simple as we can for once you're live, so you can support it when you're live. But if we know you're going to enhance it, sometimes we'll build that foundational structure during your deployment, so that when you're ready to enhance it, it makes it a lot easier. So calling those out really helps us. Challenge the status quo. We love challenging the status quo, okay? Just because everyone does something doesn't mean that Berklee has to do it that way, right? We're going to come forward with industry best practices, but call out stuff if it doesn't make sense. So I always use this example from Wellesley College. At Wellesley, they don't call their first year students freshmen. They call them first year. Why? Because it's an all-female school. It's not something we bring up. We never even thought of bringing it up during the discussion, right? Someone was testing and they noticed it and said, wait a second, at Wellesley, this should be first year. That's the new industry standard. Like, this is how it should be. And we helped articulate that, communicate that to Workday, and Workday actually changed the field to first year so that it accommodates them, right? There's certain things that are just very, very specific that we're not gonna think to bring up. You may not think to ask, but you may discover in testing. And if it doesn't seem right and it seems like something that should be challenged, please challenge it. Let us know. Let us partner with you so that we can try to figure out what's best. We're going to be reviewing configurations. So I always use this analogy, and I always say it wrong. I'm obviously not someone that runs marathons, but if you're running a 5K, it's better to start at the 3-mile mark. Wait, no. If you're running a 5K, start at the 2K, right? Because I say it in miles, that's what messes me up. So we have configuration that'll bring you forward so that you're not starting in the beginning of the marathon, right? So we're going to want to review those to make sure that they're correct, right? These are industry best, right? We brought together 3 institutions, design. Every institution we work with, we enhance this, we change them. When we work with you, Berklee is going to have some influence in what we have in our industry best practices, right? But we need to review them with you to make sure that they're correct and something that you even want to leverage. But at least it's a starting point for a conversation. And have fun. I love having fun. You should have fun. This is a long implementation. You're going to be working with people for a long time. Have fun at what you do. You'll see we all joke, laugh around. I encourage that with you as well. So, rules of engagement. So this slide, you're going to meet Ronnie Kimball. He's our principal consultant for financial aid. He put together this slide. Every time I try to enhance this slide, I can't think of anything to change on it. I absolutely love it. So I'm just going to review it, but number 1, all items are open for discussion, okay? It may not be the right time to discuss it, but all items are open for discussion. So we might table something and say, hold on, let's wait until we have this. Each of our consultants have a specific objective that they're trying to meet for those weeks to make sure that we stay on topic, okay? Sometimes we finish the topic earlier and we leave room to discuss anything that's open, right? Hey, do you have any topics you want to bring forward? What I did when I was on the customer side is I used to just keep a notepad. And when I was working with the leads, I'd say, okay, I just want to make sure that I don't lose track of these things, but I want to make sure that I get the opportunity to bring them up. Each work stream has their area, whether they call it a parking lot, whether they call it a discussion board, whatever it is, but just make sure you're not losing them. If you have something, bring it forward, but just know that it might be tabled. Use parking lot as necessary, including on your side. If there's something that you want to discuss, let us know. Say, hey, we really want to discuss this, but it's not the majority of the students. Can we table this for maybe 3 weeks out or 4 weeks out when we have some time? Include everyone in the conversation and limit sidebars. So there's 2 components to this. One is we don't know who should be at the table, but you do. If you're in a meeting or you hear a topic coming up, and I always use financial aid as an example, if I'm the financial aid lead, that doesn't mean I know everything there is about financial aid. If I know scholarships is going to be discussed in 4 weeks, and I have someone that just works on scholarships and their name wasn't on the board, that means include them. Reach out to them. Say, hey, listen, you're doing scholarships. I really need you to include it. We're going to have a deep dive into scholarships. When it becomes testing scholarships, that same person bring back so they can test and help you. Just because your name's on the board doesn't mean you have to own and be the all-knowing person of everything. Feel free to engage your community to bring in people when it's necessary. Limit sidebars. So this happens a lot, and it doesn't help anybody. What'll happen is we'll have a meeting like this. They'll talk about something. We're talking as a larger group. No one's capturing in the notes what they're discussing, right? So they say, yep, I absolutely agree. We've made a decision here. It may not match what's here. If you're discussing it, it's important. It's probably beneficial to everyone, so please feel free to bring it up in the larger group so everyone's aware of what's going on. Financial aid is highly regulated, but that doesn't mean it's cookie cutter, right? I used to work in a financial aid office. I used to think on the customer side, financial aid's the same everywhere because it's regulated. It's not. It's very different. So you have to let us know what's going on for your specific institution. We'll come forward with regulations. We've let institutions know if you're violating a federal regulation and saying, hey, listen, you're currently out of compliance. So we'll advise you so that you don't go into Workday out of compliance, and there's different things that you can do. But that doesn't mean that it's cookie cutter across the board. We're consultants, not auditors. If you know something, you have to tell us. We have our script of what we know. Okay, we need to ask this, we need to discuss this. But if we don't bring something up that's specific for Berklee, it could be something that only Berklee does. Bring it forward. Let us know. Hey, this is a whole business case of students that we have to account for. Berklee is very, very unique, and I'm excited to dig deep into these, and I think there's going to be a lot Berklee specific. bring them forward. We want to discuss them, we want to help you solution, and we want to help partner with these. Focus on the future outcomes, so focus on whatever your goal is, right? So we talked about our guiding principles, what our overall outcome is to going to the system of one. There's a huge benefit to going to the Workday, right? But I always look at it as the 80-20 rule, right? If you go and you buy a box system, they'll do everything you need it to do. If you buy this box system, it'll do everything you need it to do. Workday is not that, right? Workday is the 80-20 rule. If you have one student that needs one specific case on all the campuses and you can do it manually, it doesn't make sense to buy another third-party system just for that one use case. Try to put the mold so that we're covering that 80% of the population. Yes, there's certain areas we can't negotiate on, right? Transcripts is one. Transcripts have to be 100%, like I discussed earlier. But I'm just going to keep saying that.
The registrar's happy.
The transcripts have to be 100%. That's not negotiable. But some use cases are negotiable. And we have to really think through those and understand what the use case is and what we're talking about. And have fun again. Plan for fun. Try to have fun. I'll turn it back over to Lindsay.
I know we're running over, so I'll plan to stop us there and bring Christopher back up. But certainly as we get things going and you guys have questions or concerns, you'll start plugging into your workstream leads that you can start working very closely with, and of course myself and Jay-Z and Joey and Dave as well. So I'll stop there and turn things back over to you.
Any questions? That's really it. Give folks time to get to the meeting. But anything at all? I think we're good then.
Okay, and so I know, so we're kicking off today with RNA as well as with the records crew. So I would ask that if you're on those two teams and you're with Berklee, let the alchemists join you before you run from the room, just because we're still learning the campus, so I want to make sure that we get the right folks plugged in the right way. So who's leading RNA? Ooh, okay, so the RNA, the alchemist RNA folks, if you'll go that way, and who?
And I'll help everybody get down to student.
Okay.
For records.
Thank you guys very, very much. Thank you.
All right, thank you.